I'm here. I'm not going anywhere.
She married an old sick man she had never met, just to save her mother's life. But weeks later, in the middle of the night, Ada touched his face and realized everything she was told was a lie. The scars were fake. The age was fake. The marriage was a deal. Yet, the kindness was real. What would you do if the man you married for money turned out to be young, powerful, and hiding the biggest secret of his life? Stay with us, because this Lagos love story is about to change everything. Pull up a seat. Welcome to Afromoral Tales, where morals shake hands with mischief, lessons sneak in, and every tale bites. Gently. If you enjoy this story, please do us a huge favor by smashing that subscribe button to join the circle. Like the video to help reach a wider audience. And tell us in the comments where you're watching from. We love knowing which corners of the world our tellies travel to. Now, let the story begin. Ada stood beside her mother's hospital bed, holding a folded paper in her hand. The paper felt heavy, even though it was thin. She had read it many times, but the numbers still looked unreal. Every time she looked again, the amount increased in her mind. The doctor had explained everything clearly. Her mother needed treatment without delay. Waiting would only make things worse. Ada nodded while he spoke, but inside her head was noise. All she could think about was money. Her mother, Mama Ada, watched her quietly. She could tell something was wrong. Ada tried to smile, but it did not last. How much did they say? Her mother asked Adesitatid. She did not want to speak. Saying it out loud would make it real. It's much, Ada replied. Her mother sighed. My daughter, tell me the truth. Ada finally handed over the paper. Her mother looked at it for a long time. She did not say anything. She just closed her eyes. Ada felt her chest tighten. She had grown up watching her mother struggle. There was never enough money, but somehow her mother always found a way. This time was different. The amount was more than Ada had ever seen. I will find a way, Ada said quickly. Don't worry. Her mother opened her eyes and looked at her. How? Ada did not answer. She had no answer. She left the room and walked down the corridor, her phone in her hand. She called friends, old classmates, anyone she thought could help. Some promised to call back. Some did not pick. Some said sorry and ended the call. Ada sat down and covered her face with her hands. She felt tired. She felt scared. She felt alone. Her graphic design jobs barely paid enough for food and transport. There were no savings, no rich relatives. Her father had been out of her life for years. She had learned not to expect anything from him. Later that evening, her phone rang. She almost ignored it when she saw the name. Mr. Rock, her father. She stared at the screen for a long time before answering. Ada, he said. I heard about your mother. Her throat felt dry. Who told you? That does not matter, he replied. What matters is that I can help. Ada stood up slowly. Her heart beat faster. How? She asked. There is a man, her father said. He is rich, very rich. He needs a wife. It is only a formal thing. Ada felt cold. I will explain everything when we meet, he continued. But this marriage will clear the hospital bill. Ada said nothing. She ended the call and leaned against the wall. For the first time since her mother was admitted, Ada cried. She knew her life was about to change. Ada did not sleep that night. Her father's voice stayed in her head. Each time she closed her eyes, she saw her mother lying on the hospital bed. The choice before her felt heavy. She did not want to see her father, but she had no strength to ignore him. In the morning, she went back to the hospital to check on her mother. Mama Ada was awake. She looked weak, but calm. You didn't sleep, her mother said. Ada forced a smile. I'm fine. Her mother studied her face. Did something happen yesterday? Ada shook her head. Nothing, just tired. She stayed for a while, then told the nurse she would be back later. As she stepped outside, her phone buzzed again. It was her father. Where can we meet? He asked. Ada took a deep breath. I'm coming. They met a few hours later. When Ada saw him, she almost turned back. He looked older, but his eyes were the same. come controlled like he always had answers. "Ada," he said, standing up. "You've grown." She did not reply. She sat down across from him. "Why are you here?" she asked. He sighed. "I never planned to return like this." "You never planned to return at all," Ada said. He ignored that. "Your mother's condition is serious. The bill is not something you can handle alone." Ada clenched her hands. "So now you care." "I have always cared," he replied. "Life just happened." Ada almost laughed. She did not argue. She did not have the strength. He leaned forward. "Let me be clear. There is a man named Obi. He is wealthy, old, very sick. He does not have much time." Ada's heart skipped. She remembered his words from the phone call. "He needs a wife for legal reasons," her father continued. "Inheritance matters, family pressure, things like that." Ada felt uneasy. "Why me?" "Because you are young, decent, and you need money," he said simply. Ada stood up halfway. "So you want to sell me?" He raised his hand. "Sit down. Listen." She sat back slowly. "This is not about love," he said. "It is a business agreement. You will be treated well. You will not suffer." And after he asked, "After you're free," he replied, "and your mother's bill will be cleared." Ada looked away. She thought of her mother's tired eyes. She thought of the doctor's warning. She felt trapped. "What if I say no?" she asked. Her father met her eyes. "Then I cannot help." Silence filled the space between them. "When do you want an answer?" Ada asked. "Soon," he said. "Time is not on our side." Ada stood up. "I will think about it." As she walked away, she knew the truth. There was nothing to think about. Ada returned to the hospital after meeting her father. Her mind was heavy. She sat beside her mother and watched her sleep. The machines beside the bed made soft sounds. Each sound reminded Ada that time was moving. That night, she made her decision. She did not tell her mother. She only told the nurse to call her if anything changed. On her way home, she dialed her father's number. "I agree," Ada said before he could speak. There was a pause on the line. "Good," he replied. "You are doing the right thing." Ada did not answer. She ended the call. 2 days later, her father sent a message. It was time to meet the man. Ada dressed simply. She did not care how she looked. Nothing about this felt normal. When she arrived, her father was already there. He stood up when he saw her. "You look fine," he said. Ada ignored him. "Where is he?" Her father pointed to a door. Inside, Ada's heart beat faster as she walked in. The man sitting inside surprised her. He was older than she expected. His face was covered with deep scars. His back was slightly bent. His hair was almost gone. He looked tired, like someone who had lived too long. "This is Obi," her father said. The man stood up slowly. "Good afternoon, Ada." His voice was calm. It did not match his face. Ada forced herself to nod. She sat down without looking at him for long. Obi spoke again. "I know this is sudden. I appreciate your time." She did not reply. Her father cleared his throat. "Obi has agreed to clear the hospital bill immediately after the marriage." Ada looked up. "Immediately?" "Yes," Obi said. "Your mother will get the care she needs." Ada felt her chest tighten. That was all she needed to hear. They talked for a while. Mostly her father did the talking. He spoke about arrangements, documents, and timing. Obi only added short comments. He never raised his voice. He never stared at Ada. At some point, her father stepped away to take a call. Silence filled the room. "You don't have to be afraid," Obi said gently. Ada looked at him for the first time. His eyes were sharp and kind. It confused her. "This is not what I wanted for myself," he continued. "But life does not always give us choices." Ada swallowed. "How old are you?" He paused. "Old enough." She nodded. She did not ask more. When her father returned, the meeting ended quickly. As they stood to leave, Obi spoke again. "I will not touch you unless you want it," he said. "This marriage will be based on respect." Ada froze. No one had said that to her before. Outside, her father smiled. "You see, everything will be fine." Ada did not respond. As they walked away, she knew one thing. The man called Obi was not what she expected. After meeting Obi, everything moved fast. Ada felt like she was no longer in control of her own time. Papers were brought to her. She signed where her father pointed. She did not read much. All she cared about was the promise that her mother's bill would be paid. True to his word, Obi sent the money within days. The hospital confirmed it. When Ada heard the news, she felt relief and pain at the same time. Relief because her mother would live, pain because the price was her freedom. She visited her mother that evening. The doctor said, "Your treatment can continue," Ada said softly. Her mother smiled weakly. "God is good," Ada nodded. She could not speak more. She did not trust her voice. The wedding was fixed for the next week. There was no long planning, no joy, just instructions. Ada was told what to wear and where to stand. She followed everything like a stranger in her own life. On the day of the wedding, Ada stood beside Obi. She did not look at his face. She focused on the words being spoken. When it was time to answer, her voice shook, but she said yes. Obi's voice was steady. When he spoke. When it ended, it was done. Ada was now his wife. There was no celebration, no long greetings. People came, signed, and left. Ada felt empty. She wanted to cry, but the tears did not come. Afterward, she sat quietly while Obi spoke with a few people. She watched him from a distance. He moved slowly, but with control. He did not laugh loudly. He did not draw attention. When it was time to leave, Obi walked up to her. "Are you okay?" he asked. Ari nodded, even though she was not. They entered the car in silence. Ada held her hands together tightly. She did not know what to expect next. At the house, Obi showed her to a room. "This is yours," he said. "You can rest." She looked at him, surprised. "You're not." He shook his head. "Not tonight. Not ever, unless you want it." Ada felt something break inside her. She had prepared herself for fear. This was different. "I meant what I said before," Obi continued. "I will treat you with respect." Ada nodded again. She did not trust herself to speak. As he turned to leave, she stopped him. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. He paused. "Because I need peace." He left her alone. Ada sat on the bed and looked around. Nothing felt real. She was married to a man she barely knew, a man she did not choose. Yet he had saved her mother's life. That night, as Ada lay awake, one thought stayed with her. This marriage was not built on love, but it was not built on cruelty either. The morning after the wedding, Ada woke to the quiet of Obi's house. It felt strange. Too big, too empty, too silent. She sat on the edge of the bed, her hands folded in her lap. She was now married, yet nothing had changed inside her. Her mother was safe, but Ada herself felt trapped in a life she had not chosen. Obi knocked softly on the door. "Ada, breakfast is ready," he said. His voice was calm, steady, and careful not to startle her. She nodded. "I'll come." In the dining room, food was neatly arranged. Obi ate quietly, not forcing conversation. Ada watched him from across the table. There was something disciplined in the way he moved, careful in every gesture. It reminded her that he was nothing like the frail man her father had described. After breakfast, Obi spoke. "You don't have to feel trapped here," he said. "I know this is sudden and hard, but I will not force anything on you ever." Ada looked down at her plate. She wanted to ask how a man she had just met could seem so calm and kind at the same time, but she only nodded. The first few days were a routine. Ada went about quietly, finding a place for herself in the house. Obi rarely imposed. He gave her space, but remained present when she needed him. It was strange. She had imagined an old sick man who would dominate her life, But Obi was nothing like that. He began asking about her graphic design work. "Do you have clients?" he asked one afternoon, and I hesitated. "A few, but they don't pay well," Obi nodded. "Show me your work. I might know someone who needs your skills." The next day, Eda found herself connecting with clients she had never imagined. They were paying well, and the work challenged her. She could see her talent beginning to matter in ways she had only dreamed of. Obi's quiet help was opening doors for her without a word of boasting. She also noticed how he treated people in the house. Respectful, firm, but kind. When his staff made mistakes, he corrected them calmly. When they worked hard, he thanked them. Eda could not stop watching. He had control, yet he never belittled anyone. One evening, as she prepared her designs for a new client, Obi appeared in the doorway. "You're doing well," sighed simply. Eda looked up. For the first time since the wedding, she felt something warm inside. She did not understand it, but she recognized it. In the quiet of that evening, Ada realized that life in Obi's house was not what she feared. It was different. Strange, yes, but not cruel. And for the first time, she wondered if maybe, just maybe, she could survive this new life and maybe even learn to trust the man called Obi. Days passed and Ada began to settle into the rhythm of the house. She still felt like a stranger, but the sharp edge of fear had softened. Obi never forced himself into her space. He never demanded attention. He spoke when necessary, guided when needed, and left her to her own thoughts the rest of the time. One morning, as Ada worked on a new project for a client, she heard Obi's voice behind her. "You've improved," he said, leaning casually against the doorframe. Ada glanced up, surprised. "I thank you," she muttered, unsure if he meant her designs or her focus. "Both," he said simply. "You have talent, Ada. Don't waste it." His words felt strange, gentle, but firm. No one had ever spoken to her like that. She had grown up being told to obey, to stay quiet, to follow the rules. Obi did not command. He did not order. He respected her enough to let her grow. Yet, he held enough authority to guide her when needed. That afternoon, Ada watched Obi deal with a disagreement between two staff members. One had made a mistake that cost the household money. Instead of shouting, Obi spoke calmly. He explained the mistake, showed the worker how to correct it, and reminded them of their responsibilities. By the time the conversation ended, there were no tears, no anger, just understanding. Ada felt something stir inside her. "He's different," she thought. Later that evening, she hesitated at the doorway as Obi passed her. "I hope I'm not bothering you," he sighed softly, noticing her presence. "You're not," she replied, surprised that she had spoken without fear. Obi nodded and smiled faintly. "Good. You should not fear me." Ada went back to her work, but her mind lingered on his words. For the first time, she felt that she could exist in someone else's world without losing herself. Obi was not controlling or cruel. He was steady, consistent, and kind in ways that were rare. Over the next few days, this quiet respect between them became their unspoken agreement. Ada worked freely, asked questions when needed, and began trusting Obi's judgment. She saw how he treated everyone with care, attention, and fairness. One night, as she organized her designs, Obi appeared once more. He did not demand attention. He simply said, "You're doing well, Ada. Keep going." It was simple, small, but it carried weight. Ada realized then that Obi had given her something no one else had, a sense of dignity, even in a marriage she had not wanted. For the first time since the wedding, Ada felt a small spark of comfort. She could live here, work here, and even begin to believe that not every man had to be feared or obeyed. Respect, she understood now, could build bridges where fear once lived. And in this quiet house in Lagos, a new understanding began to grow between Ada and Obi. The days in Obi's house continued, and slowly Ada began to feel less like a prisoner and more like herself. She worked on her graphic designs every morning, creating logos, social media graphics, and small brand projects for clients Obi had quietly introduced her to. She noticed that the work paid well, better than she had ever earned before. Yet, even as her skills improved, a part of her still felt uncertain. One afternoon, Obi came into the small office where Ada worked. He leaned casually against the door frame, arms folded. "You're spending a lot of time on this project," he observed. Ada looked up, slightly nervous. Yes, I want it to be perfect. He nodded. Good. You take your work seriously. I like that. Araisitated, Ben asked. Obi, how do you know so much about clients and business? Obi smiled faintly. I've been in business a long time. I know people who need services, and I can connect you if your work is good, but I can't do the work for you. That part is yours. Ada blinked. Why are you helping me? Obi did not answer immediately. Instead, he studied her work for a few moments, pointing out minor adjustments. Because I see talent, he said finally. And talent wasted is a shame. Ada felt warmth rise in her chest. No one had ever said that to her before. She had grown up being told to obey, to survive, but never that her gifts mattered. That evening, she spoke cautiously. I always wanted to have my own design studio one day, but I never thought it would happen. Obi leaned against the wall, arms crossed. Why not? I don't have the money. I don't have the contacts. I don't even know if people would hire me, Ada said quietly. Obi looked at her steadily. You have the skills. You have the drive. The rest will come if you keep working. I can help open doors, but the success has to be yours. Ada felt a strange hope settle inside her. She had thought this marriage would only bring fear, control, and debt relief. Instead, it was opening doors she had never imagined. For the first time, she began to dream beyond survival. She imagined her name on client projects, her designs displayed online, her own small studio in Lagos, maybe even a team of designers who respected her work. Obi did not push or lecture. He simply gave her the space to believe in herself. And in that quiet support, Ada found her courage. That night, she stayed at her desk late into the evening, sketching logos and creating drafts for clients. She smiled softly to herself. For the first time in years, she was chasing her dream, and no one was stopping her. And she realized that in this house, with Obi's quiet guidance, her dream might just become real. Ada's days settled into a strange rhythm. She woke early, worked on her designs, and spent time learning from the small client projects Obi had connected her to. Every day, she saw her skills improving, and every day she felt a little more like herself. What amazed her most was how Obi helped, not by giving orders or guidance, but quietly, invisibly. He never announced that he had arranged her projects, never reminded her to be grateful, never sought attention for himself. It was as if he simply opened doors and left her to walk through them alone. One afternoon, Ada received a large order from a new client. She struggled with one section of the project and felt frustrated. She leaned back in her chair, rubbing her temples. Obi walked past the room and glanced in. Do you want help? He asked softly. Ada shook her head. No, I can figure it out. He nodded once and walked away. But later, when she checked her email, she found that a contact she had never met had sent a detailed message offering advice and tools for the project. The sender had only mentioned Obi as a reference. Ada realized he had quietly arranged it without her even noticing. She felt a mix of gratitude and confusion. Why was he doing this for her? The next day, Obi called her into his small office. Your client will pay well if you follow the plan I sent, he said, sliding a folder toward her. Ada looked at it. It contained a careful layout of her project timeline, suggestions for design adjustments, and client preferences, all ready for her to use. You did all this? She asked, surprised. No, Obi said calmly. I only made it easier for you to see the path. The work is still yours. Ada stared at him, trying to find a flaw in his words. Some hidden demand. There was none. Obi helped, but he never took credit, never intruded. As the weeks went by, Ada noticed other quiet ways Obi supported her. When she was overwhelmed by multiple projects, he connected her with a freelancer who could assist. When a client tried to lowball her price, Obi quietly intervened and ensured she got paid what she deserved. Ada began to understand something important. This was respect, yes, but it was also trust. Obi trusted her to handle her own life, even as he made sure she had the tools to succeed. One evening, as Ada reviewed her latest project, she smiled softly. She felt a sense of accomplishment she had never felt before. It was not just about the money or the clients. It was about knowing someone believed in her enough to let her own efforts shine. For the first time, Ada realized that this strange marriage was no longer just about saving her mother. It was shaping her future quietly, step by step. And in that silence, Obi's help spoke louder than words ever could. Ada had settled into a routine she never expected. The house was calm, her work was growing, and Obi's silent guidance gave her confidence she had never known. Yet, as days turned into weeks, something inside her began to feel unsettled. It started with little things. Obi's strength surprised her. He could lift heavy furniture or carry boxes without struggle, though she had been told he was old and weak. His movements were careful, but precise, controlled in a way that did not match the man her father had described. Then there were the small habits that seemed out of place. Obi never drank much water, never complained, and never showed signs of pain. Ada watched him walk through the house, greet staff, or check on deliveries. There was energy in him, a sharpness she could not explain. One evening, Ada found herself lingering outside his study. She could hear papers shuffling and the faint tap of a keyboard. Obi was working late as usual, but something about the quiet focus felt wrong. She pressed her ear lightly to the door, almost expecting to hear groans of pain, the cough of a sick man. But there was nothing, only smooth, confident movement. Her mind raced. Had her father lied? Had she been deceived entirely? But why? And why did Obi not reveal it? Over the next few days, her doubts grew. She noticed him handling documents with precision, negotiating over the phone with calm authority, making decisions quickly. It was more than just intelligence. It was skill, experience, and energy that no man of advanced age should have had. Ada began testing him subtly. She asked questions about business, about contacts, and about the world outside the house. Obi always answered carefully, never boastfully. Yet his knowledge was too deep, too clear. One night, she sat on the stairs watching him from afar. He was alone, yet his posture, his movements, the way he concentrated, it all felt deliberate. Ada felt a mix of fear and curiosity building inside her. If her father's story was a lie, what was the truth? Who was Obi really? And why had he allowed her to marry him under false pretenses? The thought gnawed at her sleep. Every polite word, every gesture of respect, every quiet act of help. It now seemed layered, hiding something she could not see. Ada knew she could not ignore it any longer. Something was wrong. Her curiosity became impossible to contain. She decided she would find out the truth, no matter the risk. That night, as Obi slept quietly in his room, Aida lay awake planning. She would learn who he really was, and she would know the full story. Because whatever Obi was hiding, she could not let it stay a secret. Ada could not sleep. The thoughts of Obi's strange strength, sharp mind, and quiet control kept running in her head. Every small detail she had noticed over the past weeks suddenly felt suspicious. Something was not right. Her father had told her he was old, sick, weak, but the man before her moved and acted like someone half his age. By midnight, Ada had made a decision. She had to know the truth. She could not live in this house under this marriage with secrets she did not understand. Quietly, she slipped out of her room, careful not to wake the staff or make a sound. The corridor was silent, and her footsteps were soft against the polished floor. She stopped outside Obi's study door, the one she had noticed before. It was locked. She tried the handle. It was, of course, firmly closed. Ada's curiosity burned hotter. She moved to the side door that led to the small hallway toward his bedroom. From there, she could see light slipping from under the door. The sounds were faint. A shuffle, a slight hiss, a quiet clink, heart pounding. She opened the door just a crack and peeked inside. Her eyes widened. Obi's face was not what she expected. He was sitting in front of a mirror, carefully applying something to his skin. Ada's breath caught. She leaned closer. There were containers, brushes, and sponges, all neatly arranged on the table. A thick layer of what looked like scars and wrinkles covered his face. Her hand went up almost instinctively, and before she knew it, she was stepping closer. Trembling, she reached forward and touched the edge of the mask. It was soft, rubbery, fake. She could peel it away. With shaking fingers, she removed a piece. Beneath it, her jaw dropped. The scars, the age, the weakness. Te were gonna. She stared at a man. Young, strong, sharp-eyed, and handsome. Obi turned at the sound of her gasp, but he did not seem angry. Instead, he smiled gently. I suppose it was only a matter of time. Essa. Softly. Ada froze. Her mind raced. You're not sick. You're not old. Why? Why did you do this? Obi remained seated, calm, as though he had expected her to discover the truth. Because I needed to know if someone could love me for who I am, not for what I have, he said. I had to hide everything. My youth, my wealth, until I found that person. Ada's thoughts tumbled. She felt a mix of shock, anger, and confusion. She had been living a lie. Yet, it had also been real. His kindness, his respect, his quiet help. The man she had thought she married was not who he appeared to be. And now, the real Obi stood before her. Ada realized one thing. The game was just beginning, and nothing would ever be the same again. Thank you for joining us for this Afromoral tale. Remember to like, subscribe, and drop a comment, telling us where you're listening from. Pull up a seat next time. Another story is waiting, full of mischief, morals, and maybe a gentle bite.